there are about 236,000 small business importers in the U.S. Now, those are companies that have less than 500 employees, and they say that if you apply the amount that they import and you combine that with the tariff rate that they would be paying, they're looking at about $200 billion a year is the tariff bill for these small importers that have to pay these new tariffs that President Trump rolled out. So that works out to about almost $900,000 per company per year. So, imagine, if that bill suddenly arrived on your desk at your retail shop or other small business, and yet that's, oftentimes would wipe out any sort of profit margin you might have. So, the small businesses are speaking to politicians in Washington through the National Retail Federation and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and trying to have their voices heard, because all anybody can hear these days is the stock market is ignoring the trade war, but it certainly isn't. The trade war is certainly having an impact on these small companies that don't have the wherewithal to absorb the higher costs and the higher administrative duties that they're facing now.
So, Brendan, we just finished up the second quarter, or about to finish up the second quarter earnings period, and it seems like most of the companies, when they talk about tariffs, are saying, "Hey, we're eating it in our margin for the most part." Can small businesses do that?
Not really, at least not in the long term. They are also trying to, get creative with putting good. A lot of them stockpiled before the tariffs took effect. A lot of them are doing things like these bonded warehouses where you don't owe the tariff bill until later on. So there are ways to kind of put off the tariff payment that you're going to owe the government, but not forever. And eventually, it's going to have to be passed on to the consumer. Maybe the exporter that you buy it from will cut you a little break, but between the exporters, the importers, and the consumers, this extra cost is just going to get distributed throughout the supply chain.
Hey, Brendan, can you get a little bit into why this is so important? Because small businesses are really the source of more than half the country's job creation, right, in recent years?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, small is the small businesses. They're not the ones we read about in headlines all the time, but they are the ones that are where lots of new jobs are being created, and we read a lot about the big publicly traded companies that lay off tens of thousands of workers, but we've got millions of small businesses that are hiring just a couple every day, and so it is a big constituency for economic activity that's often overlooked, because we think of the American economy as being driven by S&P 500 companies, when in fact it's it's these companies with less than 50 employees often that are driving a lot of the employment and investment in various regions across the country.
So I think what I'm also hearing from and seeing in your reporting is just, I guess, the uncertainty. If you're a big Walmart or just a big corporation, Procter & Gamble, you probably got teams of people who can deal with all these changing tariffs. Small businesses, I'm guessing, don't have those resources. So I guess they're just left to fend for themselves.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, or they're calling up a customs broker or some expert who imagine if your tax you're filling out your taxes went from a one page a one pager to the IRS to 50 pages. You probably need some help figuring that out if you want to do it right. You don't want to be audited later. So this is essentially what these small businesses are facing, is all this extra administrative paperwork, electronic paperwork, but it's still, you still have to fill out the forms correctly. Otherwise, the Customs Bureau is going to come at you and penalize you if you misclassify a good under one HS code. When that a tariff applies to that, when it doesn't. So it can get really complicated, especially when 80 different countries have different tariff levels now, and then on top of that you have the sectoral specific tariffs: steel, aluminum, cars. It's coming on pharmaceuticals and chips. So it's just creating this real complex web of bureaucracy that small businesses just don't have the capacity to handle.